This is Rich Moore. I'm the director of this episode.
This is Mike Reiss. I'm one of the writers on this episode.
Al Jean, also a writer, producer.
I can't even read that.
I did not see Elvis.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, back then there were a lot of Elvis sightings.
And that's before Burns and Smithers were in the control room in Homer's shop.
Do you have any guess? It's always a standard Simpsons trivia what the number is on the scanner, on the price scanner in the supermarket.
I think it was just Greek.
Oh, really? Somebody told me there's an amount, like $836. But the joke is that it's not very much for a human being.
What I heard too was that Jim Brooks, again, took a lot of attention to what the figure would be and felt, we hit the perfect number. It was probably
Today it's much higher.
I think it's the residual check we get for the episode when it airs.
Well, you guys.
Huh. I didn't know that. So directors do not get residuals on this?
This part's funny.
Well.
This is episode 7G07, The Telltale Head, and of interest in this episode is the fact that it's told in a flashback structure. We start towards the end of the story, and then recap what happened and lead up to it. And the reason that's so is because basically at every table reading or animatic screen we had this episode, it always started really funny with big laughs and repeated out. So we sort of said, why don't we just put the end at the beginning and then it'll kind of even out the laughs.
At what point did that happen? I feel like
it happened at the color screen.
Okay, because I remember watching the episode at home, sitting one of the writers on the script and saying, what happened here?
No, it happened at
I was as surprised as any viewer to see this whole thing happen.
And this is one of the only shows, I think, that had the actual title before the credits.
Yeah, there was a debate over where to start the story, at what point towards the end, and Matt had wanted to start it when Homer and Bart were trapped inside the statue, but we wound up going with it when the crowd was chasing them. It seemed like an exciting opening.
This was the first thing I ever directed, and it showed.
This was the first appearance, I believe, of Jebediah Springfield, the joke being that Springfield is not usually a last name, and we invented the mythology for him and the story of the founding of the town.
I think there's a lot of first appearances of a lot of characters in this one.
Yeah.
I think Lovejoy, this is the first time he appeared.
Jimbo Dolphin Kearney, I think it's there.
Those guys, and I believe
Diamond Joe Quimby.
I believe that Poop too. I think.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
the
that's
first
a good
one.
story.
23 minutes and 5 seconds is about the length of the episode. Sort of an inside joke there.
And is all of this built animation? Was this all as opposed to recommissioned new
No,
footage?
I think we did some new stuff for the wraparound. Yeah, this is where the episode originally started.
Let's go. But you don't understand, Marge. I have $50 riding on this.
I believe this was the first time we actually saw the family go to church, and it was pretty unusual for a primetime TV show to show a lengthy sequence in church, and
Especially an animated one.
Yep. Yeah, you didn't see Fred Flintstone over
No.
First Episcopalian.
And these scenes were laid out by Brett Hall.
One hidden fact about the Simpsons staff is that there's a lot of football fans, and sort of worked its way into many episodes like this one. Lisa the Greek came too.
Incomplete. Touchdown! Oh, Doctor, we got a barn burner here. This could be the most remarkable comeback since Lazarus rose from the dead.
A lot of the times that we have sounds coming from Homer, like we just saw with his mouth open, they're actually done after the color comes back, when Dan Castellaneta can see the picture and record his voice to it.
Rich, I don't know if it's too late to fix, but Homer looks terrible.
I know, and you can't see Maggie.
He's got this sort of a figure 8 shaped head. Ah, that's better, thanks.
You're welcome.
The Simpsons car has a dent that kind of comes and goes, so
Yeah.
the idea being it's a really bad old car.
Maybe.
It's because because of your irreverent attitude that Bart thinks he can sneak headphones into Sunday.
I just saw this idea in a commercial where they had a minister listening to headphones. while he's
I
trying to
saw
learn to
that
serve.
too, and it reminded me exactly of this episode.
I'm sorry.
And I think she reappeared in another episode about the Ten Commandments.
I think it's Homer versus
Oh,
Lisa
yeah.
in the Eighth Commandment.
Mhm.
Does she have a name?
What was her name? No, she didn't.
For the last time, Bart. Yes.
I always like the stained glass.
Mhm. Yeah, and the church design, the interior changed some in the second season. So yeah, I think this is Lovejoy's original. I think this is when he first appeared.
They're in their own house, worshiping a home.
And that's a camera move that we do a lot with pushing in and pegging out a foreground object, trying to create the illusion of depth.
That's great.
This Harry Shearer
Did you buy
voice,
it?
Good.
the football announcer, is a voice loosely based on Keith Jackson, the ABC announcer.
It will have an amazing comeback, but it's a 49-yard.
I remember when we animated this, we wanted Lovejoy's mouth movements to be different from what was coming over the radio, but they animated it right to the announcer, but everyone seemed to think it was pretty funny. Syncing up exactly.
Yeah, I was about to comment what a great joke that is. More often than you'd want to admit, there is a lot of accidents to a very funny thing.
And there's a twister mouth that
These questions.
on Bart.
Too much.
It was done a few times in the first season.
I remember one snuck in very late, like in third season. They were
Yeah.
phased out in the first season, and then I think Wes Archer snuck one in third year.
Oh, you know Wes. Always the rebel.
And it was the kind of thing, I got calls about it. People would say, what happened there? What was that about?
And today's sermon was one you should have both listened to.
What was it about?
Gambling.
Those repeat backgrounds, they're a godsend.
No. Well, I don't want to talk about this anymore in front of the kids. Lisa, Bart, what did you two learn in Sunday school?
And that's back to when on the backgrounds they used to use colored paper for like sidewalks and streets. You can see the texture in the paper. It wasn't until second season that it was all just a painted cell.
Really smart ones who live among us. Roller skate, smoke cigars.
Space News is another runner that just sort of dropped out of circulation in the show.
What was that?
Just that when I went to see a horror movie in space.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Later, we have people go there to make out.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you're not planning to see a certain movie starring certain space mutants that a certain mother didn't want you to see.
There's your guy.
Here you go, son.
Simpsons generic money. The guy who laid this out spent weeks on it, that undressing and walking scene.
Very unusual to see a naked rear end,
Yeah.
boy or otherwise.
And there's the magic tree that can be anywhere in the Simpsons yard. You know.
There they are.
Yeah.
I remember, Al can help me on this, because it was 4 of us writing it, which is pretty unusual for a TV script, 4 people pitching in. And I remember it being a lot of fun, and it went very fast, like 3
It
days.
was an actor day.
And I would say we spent a disproportionate amount of time just naming these 3 characters, Jimbo, Dolph, and Kearney. I don't even...
And Jimbo's named after Jim Brooks.
Oh.
So that was pretty easy to get.
And after 12 years, I don't know which is Dolph and which is
I
Kearney.
think Dolph
Kearney is the bald guy.
is the one with the hair over one eye.
But the voices switch. I think Jimbo in this was voiced by Tress McNeil, but I think it switched to Pamela Hayden as the series progressed. Kearney's always been named.
Those are the
Scarlett.
honest people waiting in line to get into the theater.
Yeah, most people by now know all the kids' voices are done by women, but by grown women. But
What?
It's funny that the teenagers are also grown women. Teenage boys.
This is where the ad for Drexel's class would.
I wrote this.
spent weeks on this. So we tried to paint this kind of faded so it looked like a bad print of a movie.
Yeah, it's funny, the Space Mutants, which again, we played as new movies, and everything about them are just sort of 50s sci-fi movies.
What's funny is the voice of the teenage girl is Nancy Cartwright. so it shows the range. Here's the first appearance of Apu, and the funny story is that when we were writing it, we thought, well, we really shouldn't make him ethnic. It might offend some people. And when we had the table read, Hank Azaria, who plays Apu, gave the guy the accent, and it got such a huge laugh that, of course, we made him what turned out to be Pakistani. He's named Apu after the Sideshow Bob film trilogy, and his last name, Nahasapima Petalan, was a friend of one of the writers, Jeff Martin, in high school.
So 5-finger discount, 4-finger characters.
Yeah, I think we had a debate about that. We just thought, well, use the expression people are familiar with.
They're like the angles on this sequence. You didn't see around, the early 90s in TV animation, the camera, anywhere else but just kind of at eye level in most shows with proscenium staging,
Yeah, there's a lot of great child's point of view shots.
Wow, that's great stuff, dude.
And this character really took off, Mr. Dandy.
Candy was Dandy.
That was probably his swan song.
The only character more surly than Mo.
Yeah, they do. Like that one over there looks just like a cherry bomb.
This I tried to stage as tranquil, pastoral as possible. It's kind of based a little bit on the Peanuts strip with Charlie Brown and Linus and Lucy looking at clouds. Or some of those characters, whoever was looking at clouds.
I wish someone would cut his ugly old head off.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Sure would cheese everybody off.
But guys, don't you remember history class? Jebediah once killed a bear with his bare hands.
Sorry.
I forgot how much you love Jebediah Springfield.
Yeah, he's your boyfriend.
Come on, guys, knock it off.
Beat it, Simpson. Man, I thought you were cool.
You didn't really hear teenage kids talk a lot like this in sitcoms at that time, or now. But I think it is actually the way teenage boys really talk.
Beat it, Simpson.
I'm kind of proud of this little sequence because it wasn't in the original script, and I kind of pitched it in the board as it seemed like Bart needed a moment to kind of get the idea to cut the head off. And Mike and Al liked it. They told me never to do that again.
Now I've seen everything. Black, marbleized with a liquid center.
In the beginning of the series, bowling was really Homer's favorite passion. And he does bowl still, but it's kind of dropped out somewhat.
Boy, what's on your mind?
Well, I was wondering.
This was a Sam Simon joke I always thought was really funny. Where asks if he's planning on killing anybody and then repeats the question. Clearly suspecting Bart might be.
I remember after this show aired, my dad called me up and asked me if the father was based on him. Reassured him it wasn't.
People thought it was a little like my dad, too.
Yeah, my dad. We all.
My kids think it's based on me.
But I'm not like Bart, I'm much more like Lisa. This is Bart's first ninja costume. Which, of course, all 10-year-old boys
in this
have.
one.
Yep.
Good sound effects.
No, the sound in this one was terrific. I think they did a great job.
The score, too. Richard Williamson.
And it's a pretty complicated scene to lay out.
I think in reality, a boy hacksawing through a bronze statue more than a couple.
I could listen to that for hours.
What have I done?
Did
Did they freak at all at your boards and your layout of this thing? Because it seems far and away much more ambitious than the other shows of the season. All the crazy angles and
yeah,
kind of thing.
It was always kind of my intention to try and play it as much like live action with, freeing up the camera, not just keeping it, at eye level and just flat shots and stuff. So, yeah, they were a little concerned that it was,
We really gave you a
so
tough road
big.
with the crowds too. There's
Yeah.
so many people were in these background scenes. That cue is a little bit of a Godfather parody with the horse's head in the bed. I think a joke we've done about 8 times over the course of the series. That's Chief Wiggum, I believe, his first appearance.
No, I think he was in an earlier show. I can't remember which one it was,
His
design
voice
changed a
certainly
lot.
different.
Yeah, the
He's
design.
become much more Edward G. Robinson. He's aged a little, but the pig nose, the very subtle pig nose on the cop has always been
I
there.
think in Moaning Lisa, didn't he show the picture of El Barto, the graffiti artist?
That would be Homer's Odyssey.
Or Homer's Odyssey, that's right.
Well, like all our characters, Wiggum has had IQ drift downward over the
I
course
love
of the
that
series.
pose of Homer.
Brave, just like Jebediah when he killed that man. It's so awful. Okay, come on.
I remember at the table read, we knew we had a little problem because when we were making these jokes about how awful it was, the head was cut off. Nobody was really laughing because it didn't really move the audience as much as it did the people of the town. I believe it's at Springfield Retirement Home, which later became Castle.
Right.
The second season.
After he invested the money in it.
Yesterday, didn't you say it would be cool to cut off the head and really cheese everybody off? Yeah, I was just glad.
People love that line.
People repeat that to me all the time.
Never cut the head off of a guy who iced a bear with his bare hands. So what's in the bag, Bart?
This is where it gets weird.
Yeah, this again, I remember building towards this. I thought this would be so funny, the Telltale Heart kind of parody, and I don't think it worked one bit at the read-throughs. I think it plays fine, but it did not get a laugh out of anyone.
Partly it's helped here by the audio effect. It makes it more ghostly. I think it just didn't quite work with a certain voice.
You're just my overactive imagination. I wanted them to like me.
You don't see Burns and Moe share a scene too much.
No, I can't.
There, Mr. Burns.
I believe this was the first episode where Smithers' affection for Burns.
Yeah, especially at the end.
Yeah.
Hey, Bart, where you going?
It was something, I don't know at what point, but around the middle of the season, Sam Simon, I think, just said, we should make Smithers gay. And he said, don't make a big deal out of it. It was all just something to keep in the back of our heads. It was very subtle, but people picked up on it so fast. I
That's
remember
Sideshow Bob's first appearance, of course, looking nothing like he did.
Also, he didn't
Later
say
on.
anything. The idea was he always played a slide whistle, and the joke
Right.
is that when you saw him talk, he finally was Kelsey Grammer with his really erudite voice.
We tried at the last second to get the new design animated for this show, but they didn't have time overseas to do it.
Yeah, well, I'm running a little short on courage right now.
Anyway, think about
And I remember the scene kind of continued. That Lisa actually came out during Bart's kind of moment of indecision, and she kind of helped push him towards telling Marge and Homer about the head.
Now we would probably put the dramatization in post. We'd see
Yeah.
an audio, a video effect.
Dad.
I knew it all along.
I always like that shot with just the hands running through in the foreground.
Because I wanted some really bad kids to like me. Somehow I got the idea that being popular was the most important thing in the world. Where did you get a ridiculous idea like that?
So it's I think it's turns in the character like that, like on Homer's face, that people really related to the characters well, as opposed to animation from around this time that was just pretty flat. Not much acting to it.
I was just thinking today that Homer would not recognize his own words when they were thrown back.
Right.
He wouldn't be able to do that turn.
Decent if you give them half. There it is.
I think this is the first time we did a mob that was made up of our supporting characters. Usually the mobs were just kind of generic people, but
I think it's the first time we had enough supporting characters
Yeah.
to constitute them up. But
it's
there were
amazing
more
that we
riots
did
and fires
by,
in this
by
town
then. Yeah.
than any city but LA.
This young Sunday school student, as he stands on the
The whole flashback technique. What's funny, again, I'm not sure who proposed it, but if you watch old Dick Van Dyke episodes, for no reason, I would say 70% of them are told in flashback. They're just like this, where they're told like an hour after the action takes place, and then done as a flashback. I think it was just an older technique in TV, and I don't know what it ever adds to things.
Good going, son.
And that was added at the last minute, them passing through the crowd. And from that angle, it was hard to make them look as if they were standing on the ground.
Well, it looks a little like a green screen.
There's a large amount of fiddling that went on in the first season, you know, cutting up bits of animation to make new scenes, and even the shows would be edited and changed between the first run and the rerun. And on the very early internet, people would post, "Hey, I saw 4 differences here."
I think there was actually a different line at the end when they walked by, or there was a version where they didn't walk by when it originally aired.
I think it didn't when they originally aired. I think it's possible.
Yeah.
We used to do by just reusing animation and looping the lines differently. We now just get new animation for it without the budget for
I
the
do
show.
miss the line that used to be there when Bart jumped into Homer's arms and Homer said, "Good going, son. I can't wait to get home and start punishing you."